Welcome to Beatsource Tech. My name is Mojaxx and we're trying something a bit different today. I've been asked many times over the years why I don't talk about competing products in my product reviews. And the reason for that is that each of my videos can only be so long, and I feel like it's more valuable to spend the maximum amount of time that I can giving you information about the product I'm reviewing rather than talking about other things as well. That's not to say that there isn't value in comparing products against each other and seeing how they stand in the market. So that's why we're going to try this today, the first, if you like it, of a number of tier ranking videos. And today we're talking about high-end professional controllers. So I'm thinking if you've ever been on the internet, you've probably seen a tier list like this before. It's come originally, I think, from the video game world. You know, we've got the rankings on the left, A, B, C, and D, and then S tier is the absolute top. I believe the S it comes from Japanese, the Japanese language, I think, I don't know, but yeah, so S tier, then A, B, C, and D. I've got all my products down below and I'm going to drag them onto those different tiers as we go. A couple of notes, I have included, of course, standalone all-in-one devices here for two reasons. Firstly, they all are controllers as well, so if we're making a video about controllers, they still count. But also, it would be a pretty thin list if we just stuck to stuff that was only, a controller for a computer. And that's just not the reality of the market. You know, when you're talking about this high-end stuff, generally over $1,000, things will either be all-in-one standalone and a controller or just a controller, but everything kind of meshes together in this pro space. Also, we got to like 16 different controllers in the list, and then I thought, well, let's round it up to 20. So we actually have a few honorable mentions at the beginning, which are not contemporary controllers that are available today, but I do think are noteworthy and deserve a place on this list. So let's start with the first two, and they're actually more of a dishonorable mention. But that's not because of their quality or their design. I was actually quite a fan of these. It's the DDJ-1000 and the DDJ-1000 SRT. And I'm going to put these in the D tier, the lowest of the low as far as this goes. And that's another thing, right? None of this stuff is bad. Like every single piece of kit on this screen is decent, right? But we have to have something in the bottom. And these are going in the bottom, not because they weren't good. They were good hardware. They worked really well, but they were indicative, they're representative of that time in Pioneer DJ's history when for some reason, I don't know if it was their fault or Serato's fault, but somebody messed up because for years we had two different versions of the same hardware, one which worked with Rekordbox and one which worked with Serato. And that, my friends, was stupid and it should never have been a thing. It was a waste of time and energy for everyone involved. They've got over that now. So yeah, the 1000 line was great, fantastic hardware, shouldn't have been the case. Thankfully, those days are gone, but they're going in the D tier for that reason. Now we move on to an honorable mention, and that is going to be the Numark NS7 III. The 3 in particular, because that was the last in the line, and it was like the peak of the technology. It was just superb, right? Absolutely dripping with innovation. The NS7 was the first spinning platter controller ever, as far as I remember. I might be wrong, tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm sure it was the first ever spinning platter controller. We wouldn't have the REV7, the Rane PERFORMER, the Rane One. Those wouldn't exist without the NS7 coming before it. Also, those big displays on the back made available as the Numark dashboard, a separate product later on. I just think we have to pay tribute to the innovation around the NS7 III. By today's standards, very big, very heavy, and obviously it's kind of outdated. You shouldn't buy one today, but I'm going to throw it in the B tier because even by today's standards, still a beast, still an absolute weapon. The next one, honorable mention, goes to the DDJ-RZX. Now, you might not remember this one, even if you were around at the time. This is pretty obscure. This was Pioneer DJ, and again, it was just for Rekordbox. It wasn't Serato compatible, but this one, in many ways, it's still never been topped. Like this one, they have the 3 displays on a number of different products now, but this one could play video. Like you could see your video files on the displays above each deck. Like this was so deeply integrated into Rekordbox video, which in itself was kind of a failure. Rekordbox video never took off, right? But there was a bunch of innovation in this RZX. And yeah, I wish they'd kind of pushed forward with it in some ways. I think it could have been quite an interesting thing and bring it into the standalone world now. I'm going to throw it below the NS7 III because it didn't, it was more of a failure than the NS7 III, which was a successful piece. But The RZX, you know, Pioneer DJ, they were swinging for the fences, didn't quite connect, but it was a banger nonetheless. One that did connect, and this one doesn't really apply to us here in the UK. I don't know why. I think in the UK, we adopted CDJs real quick in the early 2000s. I don't think in the US that you guys did, and anecdotally from friends and colleagues, that doesn't seem to be the case, right? So very much so, people were open format DJs in bars and clubs and stuff were playing on this thing, the SZ or the SZ2. It was like the kind of club standard kit, but it was Serato compatible. Again, there was an RZ, and I think an RZ2. Again, that was very stupid, but this thing was very important in the development of controllers as being a thing that people used in a professional environment. And I wasn't the biggest fan of those jogs. They were capacitive rather than mechanical and everything else. But you know what? I think its importance puts it above the RZX, and I think it puts it up there with the NS7 III. Yeah, that's a B tier for sure. Moving on to the in-music stable, and we get to the Denon DJ SC Live 4. Now this one was quite interesting because when it was first released, I'm pretty confident in saying this, right? Myself and Cleveland Terry came out and we were so harsh on the pricing of this thing that it actually got a price drop basically because of us, right? We just like, this is too close in price to the Prime 4. It's not as good as the Prime 4. Not as well built, not as powerful, it's not the one. It is a good device, it's got some interesting ideas, it has speakers built in and stuff, great for home use and what have you, but I don't feel like it's quite up there with the Prime 4 in many ways. And so yeah, for me that's gonna still sit in there at the C tier. Still a good piece, like there's nothing wrong with the SC Live 4 if you're looking for one, especially for home. I think it's a very good quality piece of kit, and Engine is just an endlessly expanding, powerful operating system. But I just don't think it's the best from that company. So yeah, the SC Live 4, that for me is going to go sit in that C tier. Next up, the Omnis Duo from AlphaTheta. This one I've said before, I think it got a harsh time unnecessarily. It released around the same time, or exactly the same time, as Pioneer DJ. They announced that they were going to start releasing products as AlphaTheta. This was at NAMM in 2024, and like people got really cross about that, like they were super mad about it for some reason, and there's still confusion around it today. And I think the Omnis Duo just got the short end of the stick. It was released at the wrong time, and people just didn't give it a chance. I've played with one again since, right? It's a very good piece. There are some limitations with the Rekordbox standalone operating system compared to Engine, for sure. When you take away the physical controls in Rekordbox, it's more restrictive than when you do that on Engine. But it is a battery-powered portable device. I know a couple of people who swear by it. Shout out my guy Vlats from DJcity Latino, like he loves it, right? So yeah, it's going to be, for me, that's dropping in the C tier, but don't overlook it. If you're a Rekordbox person, you play off USB sticks with Rekordbox and you want something portable and convenient, the Omnis Duo is a good bit of kit. It's just not quite up there with the very best. Now, this one is almost like a token inclusion. The Mixon 8 Pro from Reloop. And I wanted to get something from Reloop in here, and I thought about putting in the Mixtour Pro, the one they did with Laidback Luke, which is a really cool, fun bit of kit, but it's so far from the form factor and layout of all these other devices. It just would be too much of an outlier. I couldn't judge it as a fair comparison. So we're going to put the Mixon 8 Pro in there. I mean, it's got the name Pro in the name, but it is far more affordable than most of these devices on this list. I would love to see Reloop really pulling it out and doing a top end, absolutely next level controller. I know they've got it in them, but it's whether they want to go into that market or not. But I'd love to see that. As it stands, if you want to use Algorithm's DJ software, especially on iOS, this is probably one of only 2 on this list that I would really recommend it with, maybe 3. It's fantastic with that software, works really well, great form factor. It's a nice bit of kit, but it's going in there in the C just because it's not on the same level as some of the other stuff in this, you know, it's not in the same price range. The DDJ-REV5. This one I'm kind of torn on because for me, if I'm going to have a static platter device with CDJ style jog wheels, I feel more comfortable almost with the club style mixer layout rather than the battle style, which is what the REV5 has. I know that's not the case for everybody, and I know a lot of people who have a REV5 and adore it. It's perfect because, especially as I say, in the UK, that CDJ thing was such a thing for a long time for us, and just feels natural for a lot of people to use that kind of battle mixer style with CDJ style jogs, and they're totally into it. So for me, that's going to go in the B tier. Like, it's definitely a step above many devices. It is great. It's just, this is a personal list at the end of the day. and it's not the one that I would choose. I would probably go for one of the other static platter Pioneer DJ ones that's coming up later. Moving on to spinning platters, which is a thing I'm really into. We've got the Rane One here. Now, this one's quite interesting because if we were making this a few months down the line, then it would be the Rane One Mark II, and that would definitely be sitting in that A tier, maybe in the S tier, I don't know. The thing is, the Rane One, it's a few years old now. It didn't have any kind of internal effects when it was released, and still doesn't. It just doesn't have internal effects. It relies on software effects. And at the time of release, Serato's software effects were garbage. They were very, very bad. Now they're good. So the Rane One has been leveled up by the software, but the Rane One Mark II has been announced. Comes in a shiny white finish, looks really nice, has internal hardware effects, and it has new controls for stems and stuff. It's just a more up-to-date one. So as I say, if it was gonna be the Rane One Mark II, it's gonna be sitting in that A tier, maybe S tier. But as it stands right now, yeah, the Rane One, the original, I'm gonna throw it in the C, just because it is out of date at this point. We know there's another one coming. It's old now, so time to move on from that. Next up is a device, again, it's been replaced already, actually. This one, I don't think you can even buy this brand new anymore. It's gonna be the XDJ-XZ. But if you are playing out, if you're a DJ who plays out in bars and even clubs and stuff, you're going to come across probably an XZ or two on your travels. I have a lot of affection for the XZ. When the pandemic kicked in and we were on lockdown, I happened to have the XZ at home on review at that time. So I got to spend a lot of time on the XZ, got very comfortable with it. It's a great bit of kit. Standalone record box in there. It's you've got mixer functionality as well. You can plug things into it. It works great with Serato and with Rekordbox. Yeah, overall, it's just a solid workhorse, but it is now superseded by another one that's coming up later in the list. So if it had been, a few months ago, maybe this would have been, or before, certainly a year ago, probably it would have been in the A tier, but right now it's going down in the C's. It's going in there. Next, the Denon DJ Prime Go Plus, and I'm going to include the Prime Go in this because they're fundamentally the same product. There is a small chip improvement in the Prime Go Plus. Maybe it'll be able to do more things in the long run, but fundamentally the form factor, the hardware is basically the same. And that hardware is absolutely S tier. It is elite. That's going into S tier. 100%. It's a banger. The Prime Go, it's just such a little Swiss Army knife of devices. Standalone performance. I mean, still no Serato in there. I mean, I'm almost tempted to drop it down to A tier because there's still no Serato support. Fix up that quick, please, in music and Serato. Make that happen because it's so annoying it doesn't do Serato. But it does a lot of other things and it's got me out of trouble so many times. The form factor, that battery power, it's got all the streaming in there, it's got all the power of the engine operating system, but in this tiny little device. Yeah, the jog wheels are not great. You don't want to be cutting on those, but they do the job. And it's just, I love the Prime Go. Love the Prime Go Plus. They are fantastic. I still think it's my favorite engine piece of hardware ever. Absolutely, for me, S tier. Now we get into perhaps a controversial one. It's the Opus Quad. Look, the Opus Quad, it's a departure for Pioneer DJ, AlphaTheta. I mean, this should have been an AlphaTheta product, but it came before the AlphaTheta name came along. They should have called this the AlphaTheta Opus Quad. That would have made far more sense to me. I just think it looks horrible. I just do. And I've had one back again because we introduced Beatport streaming into the Opus Quad and the Omnis Duo last year. So I had both of them back here for a while. I played with them some more. And I don't like the Opus. I don't like the Opus Quad. I'm not saying it's bad. And I'm in a Facebook group, the Opus Quad Facebook group, right? And people love their Opus Quad. They love it. And I knew they would. I knew there would be lots of people who love the Opus Quad. I just don't. It's got a lot of great, powerful features. And there are some really interesting innovations in there, some of which came up in a later release, which we'll be coming to. But for me, it just doesn't sit right. It doesn't work, for me, for my taste. So, and it looks like an Atari. So I'm going to put the Opus Quad in the B tier. It's good. It's a great bit of kit. Very expensive. Unique. It's just unique. It stands apart from everything else. But for me, it's not an A tier and it's definitely not an S tier. Then we're on to the Rane 4. So this one, an incredibly sturdy, workhorse-like piece of kit. This is absolutely one for those mobile DJs, for those event DJs who don't care about spinning platters. The platters on it, the jog wheels aren't the best, I would say. If you're into cutting and scratching, but of course the Performer is there for you if that's your vibe. But it's got the tank-like construction, great sound quality, great build quality, the stem split features, great internal effects, 4 decks, all of that, all singing, all dancing. I'm going to throw that in the A tier for sure. The Rane 4, thoroughly recommended. I recommended it to a friend just recently and he's very happy with it. So yeah, overall that's going to go in the A tier. As is the next one up, which is going to be the XDJ-AZ. I mean, this one, I don't know, this is almost S tier for me. You know, I said in my review of the AZ, like they've basically done everything I wanted them to do. They've done all the upgrades from the XZ, and I was like, yeah, they've just ticked off my whole list of stuff, basically. It is fantastic. I'm going to stick with A tier because this is a personal list. And, you know, I would be over the moon. If I turned up at a gig and they said, oh, we've only got this XDJ-AZ, I'd be like, let's go. But, you know, if it was my money, if I was buying my own thing, I would not buy the AZ. I would buy a couple of other products that come on this list. It is a solid investment for any venue or for any DJ who wants to go with both, you know, software use and standalone use. Does everything it needs to do. They absolutely nailed it, but it's just not quite the one for me compared to some of the other stuff that's coming up. Likewise, the Prime 4 Plus, and I'm including the original Prime 4 here as well, that again, like the Prime Go, there's very little difference between the two models apart from a few aesthetic changes. You know, it's basically the same hardware. Slightly better jog wheels on the Prime 4 Plus compared to the 4. Honestly, like, that's the one thing that lets this down. Like, it's really powerful. Engine OS itself is very powerful. Then the hardware has loads of features, fantastic like zone output and all this stuff. It's really designed for mobile DJs, and it is a mobile DJ powerhouse, but those jog wheels are a concern. You know, I have one friend, shout out LKP, who bought a Prime 4, loved the functionality, but he cuts and scratches a lot and he just couldn't get down on those jog wheels. He ended up selling it. So just something to kind of bear in mind with that. And I'm almost tempted to knock it down to a B tier for that reason, but I'm not. I'm going to put it in the A tier because actually, yeah, if you're a mobile DJ, if you're not into like turntablism and stuff, you're just like playing great music to people or mixing electronic music or whatever, the Prime 4 and the Prime 4 Plus, absolutely, yeah, A tier pieces of kit. The RX3 is a device that I'm very familiar with, XDJ-RX3. It's kind of like the standard install piece. When I go out to bars and stuff around my area right now, the thing I come across the most is an RX3. And if it had been the RX2 or the original RX, it would have been down in the C tier for sure, because they had one big limitation. They were limited in their software support. No Serato on those. The RX3 is the first that has Serato support. So for that, it bumps it up immediately from C to B. Are we going to go to A? I mean, again, it's a jog wheel thing. You know, I've used the RX3 a lot. I'm not a massive fan of the jog wheels on there. I just can't get down. You know, my skills are limited on the cuts, and I just find the RX3 difficult to cut with. I just do. And so when I'm playing open format, I feel less than comfortable on the RX3, certainly compared to the XZ or the AZ. So I'm going to throw it in the B. I'm going to throw it in the B. It's, again, a workhorse, great for standalone and for software use, but yeah, for me, that's going in the B tier. It's my list. It's what I'm doing. One that's definitely going to be an A tier is the FLX10. You know, this resolves the big problem of the DDJ-1000 and the 1000 SRT. It's record box and Serato, all supported in one controller. Works great with both. Has lots of really exciting stems features in there. I'm really into stems now, and that was kind of funny when it launched because, you know, record box stems at that point were terrible. But they worked great with Serato stems. So yeah, I'm gonna put the FLX10. That's absolutely like, that is kind of the go-to if it's either a REV5 or a FLX10, depending on your taste. If you like the club style mixer with CDJ jogs, you're gonna go for the FLX10. If you like a battle mixer with CDJ jogs, you're gonna go REV5. So for me, it feels more natural. So I'm gonna bump that one up to an A rather than the B. And then, yeah, I kind of did this deliberately, right? We have got my two favorites left on the whole market, okay? First up, the REV7, the DDJ-REV7. That thing, I don't own one, I don't have one. I've had one on and off, you know, I've had a loan unit on and off for many months over the time since it was released. I just think that was a masterpiece, basically. Absolutely superb. Incredible jog wheel design. Like, they just nailed those spinning platters 100%. Like, they didn't just nail them, they just got a sledgehammer out and just pounded them into the ground. Like, absolutely superb. Like, top drawer. Fantastic internal effects. The layout is spot on. Loads of controls on there, and they've adapted it for stems, because stems came afterwards. They've adapted it for stems really well. It's a Serato device. I think it does work with record box now. I'll have to check that. I'll put it on the screen if I'm right or wrong, but I don't I think it works with Rekordbox now, but it's generally a Serato device. But yeah, if you're a Serato user, yeah, this is peak, absolutely peak. Like, this is S tier. A couple of years ago now, I watched Kid Cut Up, you know, supporting Pink on her world tour in a stadium, and he was rocking a stadium with this REV7 of his that had been all over the world, and he just slayed it, and that piece of hardware slayed it. And it's absolutely S tier every single time for me. The REV7, a masterpiece. Now, following the REV7, chronologically and in another way as well, we have the Rane PERFORMER. Now, this came afterwards. It was quite a while afterwards, and yeah, it was obviously inspired thematically by the REV7, but let's be straight, they just jacked those jog wheels straight off the REV7, right? They just jacked them. Like, they just, in music, have done their own spinning platters for years. Like the Rane One, the NS7, they've done them for years. And then the REV7 comes out, and then the Rane PERFORMER comes along with the same design of jogs as the REV7. Like, they just jacked them. There's no way to argue that. But they're still magnificent jogs. Like, they work really well. They feel fantastic, great on the cut. And it does have a few advantages over the REV7. It's 4 decks, 4 channels. So it's more of like a mobile DJ centerpiece. I mean, for me, I've managed to hang on to the PERFORMER. I just basically told Rane they weren't having it back, and I've managed to hang on to it. It's my go-to device for corporate gigs, private events, anything where I need to take a full setup. I take the PERFORMER because it's such a professional piece, and it has so many inputs and outputs. It's all covered. Awesome internal effects, just like the Rane FOUR. You know, it's right there, but those jog wheels are just, they elevate that whole thing up to S tier for sure. And yeah, fundamentally, right, if all of my existing DJ gear collection was to crumble to dust tomorrow, and I had to go to a DJ store and buy one piece of DJ gear to get me through, what would I buy? I would buy either a REV7 or the Rane PERFORMER, depending on which was cheaper on the day or which one they had in stock. And I would walk away, whichever one of those I walked away with, I'd walk away happy. Because for me, they're just absolutely elite. Like, they combine the best of digital technology with the best of analog, with those spinning platters, and they're wonderful platters in both cases. And this is where my bias is showing through, right? And not a bias towards any particular brand, my bias towards a particular type of device. I love spinning platters. I love playing 7-inch vinyl 45 sets, right? So obviously I'm biased towards that. I like the fact that, you know, standalone stuff exists, so I can play off a USB stick if necessary. So that's why things like the AZ and the Prime 4 are in that A tier. But, you know, it's a personal list. Given my choice, if I could only have, you know, 2 or 3 devices, I'm going to be picking out of that S tier list. You know, if I had a Prime Go and a REV7 or a PERFORMER, that's me covered basically for life. I am all good there. But of course, your taste and your needs and your requirements may be different from mine. So please do drop your own personal tier ranking down in the comments below. Maybe don't do all 20, maybe just do your top 5 or top 3 or something like that. I am fascinated to hear all of your different takes, and also let us know what other topics, what other categories you'd like to see us do a tier ranking on in the future. Thanks for watching this episode of Beatsource Tech. I do hope you've enjoyed it or found it useful. If you have, please give the video a thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed to the channel and you've turned on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. And hey, if you haven't already, you can try Beatsource for free and join DJcity for just $10. The links are down in the description. I'll see you next time.